I want to talk a little bit about these Trump voters, these Fox News viewers, these kind of people, because I was on social media, and have you seen this woman at some baseball game who basically demanded a ball be given to her from some kid? I'm sure you've seen this. You can't miss it. The ball was hit, and everybody went for it, and father got it, walked over, gave it to his son. I think they were there to celebrate his birthday, gave it to the son. And this nasty woman comes over and just gets in this guy's face, and you stole it from me, and all this crap. And he's like, yeah, fine. He takes the ball out of his son's glove and gives it to her just to get rid of this friggin' nutcase woman who's, just verbally assaulting him. And of course, this was all on video, and there's all kinds of memes with this woman. And anyways, you've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. And, everybody is obsessed with that kind of stuff, right? And I'm sure all these MAGAs are just up in arms over it. Or how about, remember when that CEO not long ago was cheating with someone from work who was another high up person, I believe, human resources chick, I think. Anyway, they were at a Coldplay concert, and the screen was on them, and they ducked for cover because they were obviously cheating, and the lead singer calls them out, saying, oh, either they're shy or they're cheating or something like that. And of course, that blew up. Anyway, I was thinking about it as I'm watching this latest little video about this woman, and I'm thinking, I bet that the MAGAs watching Fox News, I bet they're playing this like on loop over there on Fox News, especially if it's a slow news day. If there's nothing good to report about Trump, if it's all bad news, if it's just bad economic news, and of course, if there's more on Epstein coming out, and that kind of thing, they'll distract with nonsense. That's what they do, and they love this this tabloid kind of crap. And so I'm sure that this woman has been played on loop over there on Fox News. I was just thinking, I bet that these MAGAs, watching Fox News or whatever, are more up in arms about that woman and, other friggin' nonsensical, nonsense stories.
Hey, I was just thinking, there's actually a lot of better examples I could have come up with for things that get the Fox News audience all bent out of shape. Like, I don't know, a private company changing their logo like Cracker Barrel, or a jeans commercial, or Bud Light, or you name it. The point is, they get all bent out of shape over nonsense, but really important things that they should care about, yeah, not so much. Anyway, continue.
Actually, you know what? That jeans commercial was not a good example, because as I understand it, the Fox News audience wasn't angry about the jeans commercial. They were in support of the jeans commercial. This is one of those phony, made-up culture war things that they're always pushing on Fox. See, this was American, if you're not familiar, this was an American Eagle jeans ad featuring some blonde actress or model wearing a pair of jeans, and it said something like, I've got great jeans, or something like that. Play on words, and the Fox News made it sound like, presented to the adults in their audience that, the left was all up in arms about this jeans commercial, saying that it was promoting eugenics and all this kind of nonsense. When the truth of the matter is, nobody gave a shit about this commercial. There was no uproar over this commercial. It was completely made up by Fox to shovel bullshit to their audience. Anyway, the point is, they spend all their time either just pushing Trump propaganda or having their audience obsess over nonsense. Okay, now I'm done. Continue. I bet they are more up in arms about that woman than they are, and of course this is obviously true, because they're not up in arms about this at all. I'm sure they're pissed, they're all attacking that woman, but they have no problem that their cult leader was found liable for sexually abusing a woman, for what the judge explained in a written opinion is commonly referred to as rape. He digitally penetrated a woman by force against her will. That's, most people and a lot of jurisdictions refer to that as rape. It's called sexual assault in New York, or sexual abuse in New York. They got no problem with that. They've got no problem with Trump having engaged in massive fraud, having been found liable for doing that. And I know they probably, I'm sure this was also played on loop on Fox News a week or two ago when the appellate court threw out the judgment against Trump in that New York fraud case, because it was like $500 million or something, and they said it was excessive. And of course, the way it was reported, and I'm sure the mindless cultists who watch Fox News believe this, they believe that the entire judgment was thrown out, that it was reversed, that he was, that fraud judgment against Trump was thrown out. No, the court only threw out the judgment, the monetary judgment part of it. The court upheld the finding that he engaged in massive fraud. It also upheld the injunctive relief that the trial court imposed on Trump, like forbidding Trump for a period of time from engaging in business in New York because of the massive fraud in which he and his organization were engaged. What else do they not have a problem with? Oh yeah, they have no problem with their cult leader stealing government property, stealing classified documents, obstructing justice, and all of that. I mean, if anyone else did even a fraction of what Donald Trump did in that Mar-a-Lago stolen documents case, you're looking at life in prison. You're at least looking at decades in prison. And for Trump, if he got the kind of sentence that anyone else would have gotten, it would be a life sentence for him. He wouldn't live through the end of that sentence. They have no problem with that. What else do they not have a problem with? The list is long, right? I just wrote down a couple here. They of course don't have a problem with trying to overthrow the republic. They got no problem with that. They have no problem with a president who loses an election lying about that and then organizing a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results. And when all of his legal challenges fail because he had zero evidence of any election fraud, when all that failed, out of desperation, he organizes and summons a violent mob to the Capitol, incites them to violence, directs them at a co-equal branch of government for the express purpose of shutting down that branch of government so that they could not do their constitutional duty of certifying the results of the election he lost. He had no problem with police officers being beaten, and that could have been a hell of a lot worse. Just think of how much worse that could have been. There could have been a lot more people who could have been hurt horribly, been killed, and Donald Trump would have had absolutely no problem with that. He knew the mob was armed. The Secret Service told him and wanted to screen them out. Trump told him to get rid of the magnetometers. He didn't want them disarmed. He said, hey, after all, they're not here for me. They're not here with their weapons for me. I'm sending them over to Congress. They're going to use their weapons on Congress. They have no problem now that he has, because we're surrounded by idiots in this country, been reelected. They have no problem with him violating the Constitution on a daily basis. No problem whatsoever. And all the while, they all pretend to stand for the Constitution and the rule of law and all that. It's all garbage. It's all bullshit. It's all lies. They don't stand for any of it. They don't believe in any of it. They have no problem with agents of the government, masked agents with no identification, They don't tell people what law enforcement agency they are with. They show up in unmarked cars. They kidnap people off the street. They don't tell them what they're being held for. They don't show a warrant. Nothing. Sorry, something just came in. Anyway, they don't have any problem with any of it. These people who for decades warned against Democrats weaponizing the government against American citizens. I remember people like Alex Jones and all these people screaming at the top of their lungs about this government is going to be, run by a bunch of jackbooted thugs who are going to come after our guns and they're going to put us in camps and arrest us without due process and throw us in jail. Now all of that is happening. And it's being done by their cult leader. They got no problem with it. No problem with it. But, what else do they not have a problem? They don't have a problem with a president using the military on the streets of America against American citizens. No problem with that. Anyway, you get the point. There's a lot they have no problem with. But if a woman, gets in some father's face, berating him and screaming at him to the point where the guy's like, fine, here's my son's ball, take it. Some nasty woman at a baseball game. Yeah, that'll get him going. That'll get him up in arms. Guess a branch fell. Or God forbid, somewhere in the country, some drag queen reads a storybook to kids at a library. Oh, just forget about it. Then they really lose their minds. Anyway, I was just thinking about that. I'm gonna go get back to my walk. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.